Okay, so I work with Sendhil Mullainathan at Harvard, Antoinette Sher at MIT, and then me and Piyush are both at ideas42. Ideas42 is a not-for-profit that tries to use behavioral economics in order to design and invent new products and policies, as well as doing a bit of like consulting, all sort of aimed at social impact. I'm really glad I'm going after David because he sort of gave a good introduction to some of the stuff going on in behavioral economics right now. But a lot is going on with what we call choice architecture, and that was mentioned a bit by Olivia. And one thing we think about choice architecture is that there's so much out there that is making it very easy for us to consume. And a great example of this is last night I got into DC and I went to my hotel and I'm feeling a bit hungry, and I look at the table next to the bed and there's this big bag of pretzels. And eating these pretzels was a horrible financial choice on my part. It's something, and I am hopefully a bit financially literate, but that's not what I was even thinking about at that point in time. I'm thinking, I'm very hungry. I don't want to go anywhere, across the street and find something. I don't know how much these pretzels cost. It's just going to go onto my hotel bill, and it'll be a very small part of it. So it makes it very easy for me to think about it. If I had to walk across the hall to a vending machine for these, presumably $10 pretzels, I would never ever do that. But just the fact that it was there, I was hungry, made it very easy for me to make a pretty poor financial decision. So the reason that this sort of is very important is because of things like limited attention. People aren't spending that much time thinking about their finances, thinking about whether they've got enough money for this purchase. And there's a lot of sort of complicated rules out there. So you think about something like the fact that if you have more than 30% of your, using more than 30% of your credit limit, that affects your credit score negatively. I never know at any given point in time what my credit limit is on a given card or how much I've spent on it, unless I'm actually actively checking it. Day to day, I've got absolutely no idea what's going on. And another aspect would be limited self-control. And that's the perfect example of this is me saying, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat these pretzels, I don't care how much they cost. Whether it's a good decision or a bad decision just doesn't matter. So we work to design what we're calling a financial health check. So it incorporates a lot of these sort of ideas into the design of it. So the first part is much more of a standard approach where they sit down with a financial counselor. So we're doing this with a credit union in Pacific Northwest. They've got about 50,000 customers, and this is entirely voluntary. And you go over your budget, you go over your income, you figure out how much discretionary savings you might have, you figure out you look at a credit report and you talk about that. You maybe make a debt snowball plan and sort of have a plan to pay off your debt. But then we wanted to really put in a whole bunch of sort of automatic things to sort of structure the choices that they make to make it very easy for you to save money. So this is defaults like what Dave was talking about. Instead of having just a default enrollment for a 401k, we try to push people to say, okay, instead of having, going and paying your credit card bill, make sure that you have it defaulted so it's automatically paid at the end of the month. Also, we tried to get people to enroll in automatic savings. So, once a month or once every 2 weeks, whatever works for you, figure out if you've got $100 of discretionary income, put $50 in savings every month, and try and make it so savings just happens automatically. Then instead of you sitting down and saying, oh, I should really be saving money, I'm going to make a conscious choice to do so today, it just happens. And of course, you always have the option of taking that money and bringing it back. If you say, well, over the last 12 months, I've put in $100 every month, I've saved $1,200, you've always got the option to say, aha, I'm going to take that money and buy a new TV with it. Not a good financial choice, but it's something that you have the freedom to do. We tried to get you to set savings goals. So you would say, you would talk about just what you wanted to do and try and set some sort of commitment to yourself and to the financial advisor. Again, this is something that you definitely don't have to do, but just having stated something and having it go, sat down and talked to someone and made some sort of personal commitment, we think is something that'd be really useful. And then finally, if you didn't feel comfortable with automating any of your finances, a lot of people who are juggling their budget a lot feel very uncomfortable about setting aside some money very regularly to be saved. Just setting up something so you can get email or text message reminders. So once a month it would say, you committed to saving $50 this month, have you done so? Make sure you log into your account and transfer some money over. So this is the sort of experiment design. So this is done as a randomized trial and a field experiment. So we had about 40,000 clients that were eligible for it, and we mailed them, did some phone calls, and tried to get as many of them as we could. We got 834 people who said, yes, I'm very interested in this. This sounds like a great program, and about 40,000 who never responded back. So once you called up and said, I'm really interested, I want to have a financial health check, at that point we did the randomization. So half the people we said, great, we'll meet with you in 2 weeks, what's your schedule look like? And half the people we said, that's unfortunate, but we're doing this as part of a study, so you can't actually get the financial health check. And so what this is doing is letting us really pick apart whether it's a selection effect that's going on or a treatment effect. Is actually sitting down and working through these treatments affecting your health, your financial health, or is it more of a thing where you're someone who's very interested in financial health, you sort of decided that you want to take control of your financial well-being, and so you're on this positive trajectory for other reasons. So this is the take-up of the different optional treatments we had. It was a decent amount, but as I said, a lot of people don't want to necessarily automate their savings. So 7% signed up for automatic payments or automatic bill pay. So this could be for your credit card bill. This could be for utilities, a lot of different options. 26% signed up for email reminders. So again, this is either saving, saying, okay, you committed to saving $50, you committed to saving $100. And sometimes there would also just be email reminders for, say, 401k eligibility. Just making sure that you knew what the dates were having, just giving you all the information just readily available. And then we did get 9% of them to sign up for automatic transfers into the savings account. And if you look at what the average monthly transfer was, it was about $146. So some people were saying, let's do $200 a month. Some people said, I'll do $50 every week. They had a lot of freedom to figure out exactly what they wanted to do. So we've been running this for about 2 years right now. So about half the people who have done this did within at least the last year. So we're still running this and looking at the data. But we do have some sort of what we think are very promising preliminary results. So if you look at whether people did manage to save a bit more. So this is just, we have the savings account balance that you had in 2010 before the study, and then the most recent data from March. If you look at the control group, 25% of them were able to save at least $250 over that year and a half time period. But the people who were in the treatment group did manage to save, were more likely to have saved that amount. So it's a pretty small effect in that it's just $250, but because a lot of this is being automated, being set up, we're hoping that it's going to be a persistent default, and as David said, it's a good one. So if you save $250 every year, that's something that hopefully will be compounding. And then if you look at a bit larger of a group, for larger effect, people who saved at least $500 over that time period, and we're still seeing that people who were in the financial health check did manage to be more likely to save a bit more. We're really happy with this effect. And the other thing is it's a bit stronger actually with people who started out with less money. If you started out without a savings account or with the minimum balance, you're much more likely to have an effect from the financial health check. Whereas people who are already financially well off, if you had $15,000, $20,000 already in a savings account, we actually aren't seeing much effect. So it's definitely hitting the people who we think are the more vulnerable population. So the next step we've got on this is we're trying to get the actual credit bureau data. And there's two things going on with this. One is we just want to have all of that data is the actual savings account that's with the credit union. So it's possible, that you have some accounts at the credit union, and then you have some with a 401k. You have some with another bank, and with a 401k in the bank, we can't really see what's going on. So one thing that could be happening, of course, is that people are putting more money in their credit union account, but we don't know where the other money is going, or if it's something that they're using to buy a boat or a house, anything like that. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we're interested is in actually going back to looking at the selection effects. So one idea is that people who do sign up for treatment, maybe they're still on this positive financial trajectory I mentioned, where people who are actively taking charge of their financial health. They're really looking forward and trying to figure out their financial life. And if they're not going to, if they're randomized and controlled, they're still going to be looking for other means. So they're going to be looking, they're going to be reading books, they're going to be attending classes. And the idea is that we might be able to figure out who's on this positive financial trajectory. And this would be important for, right now we're doing this as a research study, but we're hoping that eventually it'll be monetizable. So that the credit union will be able to say, okay, we'll be able to do this in a cost-effective manner and figure out some sort of way to keep it going. So one thing would be maybe giving people who conduct a financial health check some sort of, interest rate reduction. Another thing we were hoping to do is maybe talk to some of the credit bureaus and see if we can use participation in a financial health check as some sort of positive forward-looking component to your credit report or your credit score. Just because all of that's sort of based on backwards-looking data mining, something that shows that this is a person who's taking action might be a really useful component. And the other thing we're doing is we're taking these ideas from the financial health check and pushing them forward into a couple other similar projects that we've got going on. So these are services that are pretty similar to the financial health check, but are based out of different areas. So one thing is we've got an employer financial stability package that we're working through. It's a very similar program, but it's based at your employer. So you have you work in a low-income job, and set up something so your paycheck's being directly deposited automatically to your savings account, or at least a portion of it is. And same thing with community colleges, where we think these, you've got a work-study job and do the same thing, but also you have a very different financial sort of well-being. And one of the things we were thinking about with both of these is that not only is there these financial effects, but also just the fact that your finances are getting so automated, hopefully you'll be able to concentrate more at work, and that'll show up in the productivity statistics, or concentrate more on your education, and that'll show up within your grades. And the final thing is we're doing a lot of work with mortgage counseling and trying to figure out how to automate that to help people stay in their houses.